Hey everybody, Alex from SCADA Forge here. In this video, we're going to look at templates in perspective. If you've seen the Vision templates video, they'll be pretty similar in terms of overall architecture and structure, with some differences in parameter types and how we pass parameters into the perspective views compared to Vision templates. In the previous component videos, we have bound directly to tag paths. So maybe we had a numeric value that was bound to, say, tower 1 temp, shown here in the tag browser. What we're going to do for templates is we are going to use the concept of a template, which is basically a reusable view that we're going to create in perspective that effectively acts as a custom component that we're building. And we can pass in parameters to that. In this case, we'll build a template for our tower tags for tower 1 and tower 2. We can use the number in the tag path here for tower 1 or tower 2 as a parameter, and we can change that parameter through navigation or bind to it when we create an instance of the template on a view and automatically map tags from tower 1 or tower 2 to that view. This is helpful if we have an overview screen and we want to create instances of multiple pieces of equipment. We create one template graphic and we populate however many of those we need on the screen and pass in however many parameters we need, and then all of our data is automatically mapped at that point. Or we can show pop-ups where, say, we click on a button to show a detailed view of tower 1. That will pull up a pop-up with a template instance in it that has the tower number of 1 passed in as a parameter, and all the data will match at that point. So let's get into it. The first major difference is in Vision. Here in the project browser, we have windows and we have templates as separate types of objects. In perspective, we don't. We have views only. So typically what I'll do is I'll create a templates folder, and that is where my templates themselves will live, and that's basically the template design. And then on the views outside of the templates folder, we will instantiate those template instances on the views and be able to use those. So we're going to create a view, or create a template view for our tower. So we'll create a new view within our templates folder. We'll call it tower detail. And we'll create view, and that'll open it up. Similar to the Vision video, we're going to look at the temperature, pH, and mmOH tags. There are more tags in there, and generally you would have, more objects on the template. We're just showing how things work here. So now that we have a template view set up, we need to first create a label so we know what we're looking at. So we'll grab a label and we'll drag and drop that onto our view here. And we'll just make that as wide as our view is. And we'll just hone that in here. Make that a little smaller. There we go. And let's move that up to the top. We'll just change our Y to 0, and we'll center the text on that. Text alignment, center, okay. So now we have a label. The previous way we would do that is simply bind this to a tag path or something. In this case, we're going to need to have a parameter that we can pass in for our tower number. So to add that, we select the view, which is the object above the root container in the tree. And you'll see we have props, custom, and params. We want to add a view parameter, so we will click that. We will select value, and we will call it tower num, and we'll give it a value of 1. Now we can pass in that parameter as a value, so we could type in 1 or 2 in this case, and we will use that to build up our dynamic tag path. So now if we go back to the label and we want to update the text property, we want to do an expression because we're going to build up a string here. And we will just say tower plus because we're concatenating strings. Then we will click our Browse Properties button. We'll go to our View, Params, and select Tower Num. Hit OK. And that populates that parameter with the curly braces, and our expression preview down here shows tower 1 because we have a value of 1 in tower num. If we change that to 2, 3, etc., that will update our label. Next, similar to vision, we have a thermometer graphic component. We can just pull that across. Move that over here. And just to show how this works, we'll leave pretty much everything by default. Maybe we'll change the units to F to update our units up here. And we are concerned with the value property, which will give us the value of our reading here. So we can either right-click Configure Binding. We can click the Add Binding icon either way. Now, similar to how we did in the display components video, let's map a tag path here. Simulated data, refrigeration, tower 1, temp. We'll hit OK. Now, if we were to stop here, any instance of this template will be bound to tower 1's temperature. Similar to the vision video, we'll use an indirect binding instead. And we can make this number here dynamic by going curly brace, and we'll put 1. We could also add, if we had multiple indirection parameters here, like we had, say, tower 1, temperature 1, or temperature 5 or something, we could pass in another parameter or another property into this to build up as dynamic of an indirect path as we need, but we only care about tower num in this case. So we add the curly brace 1 and curly brace. That gives us a reference down here. And then we can hit the Property Explorer and navigate to our tower num property, hit OK, and enter. And that will pull up the value of that here in the browser. Now, if we hit OK here, it's going to show us, 98.62 whatever with 12 decimal places. This would be a great place where we can use a transform to do some rounding. Easy way to do that is do an expression transform, add transform. And if you click on the letter here, take a look at functions and math, we have a round function, which takes the number we want to round and how many decimal places. Whoops. That was weird. So that will insert the round with an open parentheses. Our number is value. We want to round it to 2 decimal places, and we'll end the parentheses. And now you see our tag gives us a bunch of decimal places, and our expression transform results in 2 decimal places. So we hit OK there, and we see this value updating based on our tag value. So now, similar to the vision video, let's do a moving analog indicator. We'll just pull that across here. We will just align these centered, and I'll just scoot that over a little ways. And center it in the window. Now for this, we'll look at the pH. Here, we're most concerned with the process value tag. We will go back to our tag binding. Now we have direct, which will map it directly to a specific tag. We have indirect, which we used to pass in the parameter there. We'll also show you how to use the expression tag binding here. To do that, we click the expression option. We click the tag browser. We find our tag here in the list, Tower 1 PH. And that will populate the tag path. Again, this is tied directly to Tower 1. So we want to build a dynamic string here, just like we did in the vision video. And here, so we're basically building this tag path up, and we're taking the first section before the number, and then we're concatenating it with our parameter, and then we're adding the rest of the tag path at the end there. So we'll see down here in the preview that that maps to our pH value, and this isn't going to display a number, so we don't really need to round that. So we hit OK, and that will do our moving analog indicator. Since that's hovering around 100, let's make our max value 200, maybe make our desired high 150, our high alarm 160, and that will start adjusting the moving analog indicator here based on that value. And finally, we'll look at our MMOH tag. For that, we'll just use a label. Keep it simple. Let's align those. And make this a little bit wider. And let's center align that as well. Why not? Because this is a label, we want to bind our text property. So we will click that. Now in this case, in the vision world, we have a numeric text field, or a numeric display field that gives us units and everything built in. Here we don't have that. So let's take an expression binding. Let's grab our tag path, and we will build up the text of what we want to show, including units here in the expression. So this will be MMOH. Again, this is bound directly to that tag, so we want to make this dynamic, and we will wrap that in a tag function, similar to what we did in the vision video. And we need to map our parameter. So we concatenate and actually build a valid tag path, and we hit OK. And now we see our value down here. Again, you'll see that has a lot of decimal places. So let's go back to do our round function to 2 decimal places. And then if we also want to do units, we can add those after the round function here, and that will add those to the text that we're displaying. So effectively, we are building a dynamic tag path in the middle part of these parentheses. We're evaluating that as a tag with the tag function to get a number that we saw had a bunch of decimal places. Then we're rounding that to 2 decimal places, and then we're adding MMOH with a space between it at the end here. So now if we hit OK, there we go. And then if we go to our view and adjust our parameter to 2, our values will adjust to look at Tower 2. So that's how we build a template. Let's close that, hit save. So now we have our template instance, similar to creating a template instance under templates in Vision. Let's go to our templates folder up here under Ignition 102. We'll create a new view, call it Towers. We'll create a view. And let's go, just to make this a little easier, let's grab these and put them closer together. Oops. And we'll move these up. And we'll just make this smaller. And we will shrink this as well. And we have a scroll bar because it's too small, so we'll make that bigger. And let's center align the title. So now we can fit multiple on here. Now we can drag and drop the view, and that will give us an embedded view object here. We can also go to perspective components and do an embedded view component by clicking and dragging it there. By clicking and dragging here, it automatically brings across our tag path and our parameter. If we were to drag from over here, then we need to specify our path by selecting it here, tower detail. And then for params, we would click add object member, and that will give us a context menu here with parameters. We can highlight that and click tower num, and that will bring that across automatically. And let's just use the default width and height for our view. There we go. And we make this a value of 2. Whoops. And we can center align these and just put them in the middle. Save that. So now we have a view that will show us both towers with their parameters appropriately. If we say, let's say we had 16 towers and we wanted to build a grid of those, we can use flex containers or flex repeaters or row and column repeaters to build a grid of those and pass in the parameters. And that will make it easier to build up a screen with a lot more than 2 instances of a template on it by not having to click on each one and update the parameters accordingly. Now we will show how we manage this navigation-wise. So the easiest approach here is, let's say we want to show these in a new window. We can add a new URL, and we will call this towers. And after this, we'll put a colon, and we will put in the name of our parameter, which is tower num. And now we can pass in a value in the URL itself that will get passed as a view parameter to the view that we're pulling up. We will then select templates here. And now this will pull up our template with whatever we pass in for tower num, and that will handle all of our mapping there. So we can hit save here. Then tools, launch perspective session. That gives us our base URL. So I do /towers/1, hit enter, and now that pops up with tower 1. Or we can put in towers 2, and we get tower 2. So that gives you a great overview of templates in perspective and how it compares to Vision. Basically the same in terms of functionality and architecture and design, with some minor differences in how it's implemented across the board. But that should give you a good leg up on developing templates. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.